what I want to do briefly is talk about the stages of technical writing and compare that, and how that fits in with the history of outsourcing. Now, this information about the stages of technical writing is based on my experience in the U.S. And I'm very interested in feedback from others on this because it's really, as I said, just based on my experience and research. And we have a infographic here, and actually what I'm going to try to do, because I think it's kind of small here, and maybe what I will do is share it as, there we go, as a picture. So you can see the idea is that in the 1970s, again, it's based on the U.S., technical writing was in its infancy. Very few technical writers. I'm not sure if there were any academic programs. Few managers that had any experience in technical writing. An infant is unable to effectively use language to communicate. So that is, how I depict the role of a technical writer. Of course, the job of technical writers is to communicate, but in terms of within an organization, it was very difficult for technical writers to have their needs understood, to have the organization understand what they can contribute and how to best support them and take advantage of their talents. And then in the 1980s, it started to get a little more involved. This is when I started as a tech writer. There were few tech writing managers. I think there was some academic programs there. I wasn't aware of them myself at the time. There were mostly sole tech writers, a few teams. So as a youth, you can use language to communicate effectively, yet you're often not respected for your views or input. And I think that was the experience of many tech writers in the 80s. And then in the 90s, adolescence, there's more tech writers, some actual teams, and tech writing managers. So, and some academic programs going. So I recall as a manager in the 90s, I started seeing some resumes of people who graduated from a technical writing program, say at Carnegie Mellon. There were only one or two at that time. So adolescents rebel, often struggle against the dominant culture. So that was a time of tech writers and tech writing managers starting to get some power organizationally and starting to fight for, what we needed in order to make the documentation effective. So I recall in the 90s, for example, there were some central groups in large companies that supported tech writers, but those groups had to continually fight for funding and keep justifying their existence. And then the 2000 young adulthood, you had tech writers, managers, even directors, you had central support groups, you had the beginning of the unified content strategy, topic-based authoring revolution. You had information designers, information architects, documentation tools developers. So a lot of technological and methodological maturity going on, maturation in tech writing, and the rise of globalization and localization. So young adults discover the world, begin to conquer it. And then stage 5, I call adulthood in the 2010s in the U.S. Now, when it says unified content strategy revolution in full swing, that still is impacting some of the largest companies only, and some smaller ones too, but it's by no means comprehensive in its reach. You do have content strategists, and a lot of them, technical writing outsourcing begins to grow. And technical writers, are starting to command more respect and understand how to influence organizations, how to influence the customer experience, actually, through our participation. And then the late 2010s, I call midlife. Technical writing is starting to transition from engineering to marketing as organizations start to realize that all content is marketing because people often make purchase decisions based in part on post-purchase content. The pressures to outsource and offshore increase. All companies have to reduce costs. Competition increase. Social media is now a big factor. And automation is becoming a big part of it. So I'm interested if anyone wants to jump in and let me go back to the presentation and comment on that because it's really, as I said, based on my experience. Does anybody want to offer their own experience in terms of how this has happened? I know some of you have been involved for quite a while.